All right, so I get asked quite a bit, which property improvements do you choose to do on a property and why? I'm going to go over the different types of property improvements and which one can actually increase the value of the asset versus there are some that don't. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Matthew. I'm a commercial real estate investor based out of Southern California, and I buy commercial property all over the country, apartments, shopping centers, and just more recently, industrial. All right. So how do you know which improvements you should make on the property? Okay. Now there's two categories that I put improvements into. One of them is like mandatory improvements, and the other is value creating. Mandatory improvements are you're keeping the property functional. This is to protect the income that's already there. It prevents the tenants from leaving, and it typically doesn't justify higher rent. The classic example of this could be a roof that's leaking. If you have a roof that's constantly leaking, all the tenants are complaining of it. If you go fix the roof, you can't go like, hey, I fixed the roof, I'm going to raise the rent. Typically, a roof that's not leaking is an expectation from the tenants to pay the rent they're already paying. You're probably not going to get higher rents because, hey, your roof is no longer leaking. That's typically like just the base case for these tenants. Now, value creating improvements, on the other hand, they improve the tenant experience. They make the property easier to lease if you do have vacancy. They reduce turnover for the existing tenants, and it can help you push those rents higher if you are a value add investor like myself. So before I go out and spend money on improvements, I ask myself, is the improvement fixing a problem or is it creating a competitive advantage for my building? Those are the two types of property improvements. Mandatory repairs, they preserve value. They preserve your tenants, keep them from leaving, but they do not create value. So this examples of this is roof leak, as I mentioned earlier, HVAC systems, plumbing, electrical, structural problems, fire safety code, broken doors, mechanicals. This are necessary capital improvements that protect your existing income and protect the existing value of the building. They don't push the value of the building up. These are already expected by the tenants. Depending on the your lease as well, in triple net leases, some of these may fall under the responsibility of the tenants, but in gross leases or in apartment buildings or in many cases, you're responsible for taking care of this. So $25,000 roof repair. This is a real example. You buy an apartment building, the roof is near the end of its life. Several of the tenants are complaining that they have roof leaks. You spend 25 grand replacing the roof. Okay, the property is now livable, but the property isn't necessarily worth more. Sure, when you sell it, you can advertise, new roof, but it's unlikely that you're going to see a direct $25,000 increase in the value of the asset. That capital improvement is required to prevent further damage to the property, but it's not like a new amenity or something that's going to make the building easier to lease. When you're renting out an apartment building, for example, you're not putting roof free of leaks, new roof. Tenants don't care. They already expect that the building is not going to have roof leaks. That is a base case, not an amenity. The other thing is make sure not to pay full price for a bunch of deferred maintenance. So if you have a roof that needs to be replaced, don't think of replacing the roof as your value add. No, you have to replace the roof just to get the property to where it needs to be before you can start actually adding value. So your purchase price plus your mandatory repairs is your real cost basis on your asset before you start adding value through other improvements, which we'll touch on in a second. So be sure to get a discount, seller credit, price reduction, whatever it is, for these mandatory repairs, because these are things you're likely going to have to do day one, week one, month one, in order to keep the value of the asset there and keep the tenants in place. Now, the good news is that these types of deferred maintenance is likely how you're able to get a discount on the property. So if there's a property where there's a roof leak, there's a bunch of issues, and the landlord either doesn't want to or doesn't have the funds to do these repairs, you can in many cases negotiate a steep discount on the property. Then you go in, buy it, and do the repairs yourself. Now, strategic improvements actually change how the tenants view the property. And that is the main lever in value add investing, where you're able to increase the rents to market. These are things like exterior lighting, improved signage, security cameras, landscaping, common area improvements, parking lot, outdoor areas, amenities like gyms and things like that. Depending on the asset class, obviously apartments are going to have their own strategic improvements versus retail versus industrial versus office. But these are not required improvements. These are improvements that make the tenants feel safer, more comfortable, more confident in the area, so that you're actually able to either increase the rents or lease the space out quicker and for higher rents as well. So these are the strategic improvements. So you ask yourself, is this a improvement that is required for the building, for the existing tenants, or is this an improvement that's going to that's going to increase the likelihood that the tenants are going to stay, or new tenants going to come and sign a lease, or the tenant's going to pay more? Would this make the property easier to lease? Would it make the existing tenant less likely to leave? And would it justify higher rent? Now, it's hard to calculate an exact return. You can't really say, I'm going to spend $10,000 on landscaping for this building, and then I'm going to be able to raise the rent by $10,000 a year. It doesn't work like that. So you really just have to put yourself in the tenant's position. Am I more likely to rent from this place with the landscaping done? Am I more likely to absorb a rent increase with this improvement done? You have to put yourself in the tenant's shoes and then make a decision from there. Unfortunately, there's no calculation that says by improving landscaping of the building, you're going to be able to increase the rents by X amount. It doesn't exist. So here are my suggested improvements based on the specific asset classes. When it comes to apartments, security and exterior lighting is critical. Facilities and or amenities, things like gyms if it's possible, or maybe even just the outdoor common areas. Like I like adding a fireplace and some seats, or maybe just a place for them to barbecue even outside, or maybe a pet station for them to groom their pets, or for the pets to play outside. There are different like levers that you can pull. The other one is you can upgrade the unit's interior. Sometimes you say, hey, if they say we like the unit, we want to renew, but we feel like the kitchen's getting really outdated. Then you could say, hey, you know what? If you sign a 12-month renewal at this rent, I will update your kitchen for you. Those are things where you can go in and provide value for the tenant, the strategic improvement in order to renew the tenant at the desired rent. That's apartments. Retail, you have monument signage, visibility. You can improve the parking lot, restripe it, repaint it. You can improve the facade, improve the monument signage is a big one. It's an easy one in order to help the tenants get more customers, restripe the parking lot. Almost every retail center I buy, I typically have to do some work on the parking lot. Just make the building more appealing, where the tenants are going to attract more customers. And once they start making more money, it's a lot easier to charge them more money. Office, this is a lot big on amenities, lobbies. You want the common areas. Maybe you could throw in a gym, maybe a common conference room that all the tenants can use, update the restrooms. The office is really big on amenities and tenant improvements and helping them improve their space and improving the space as a whole. Industrial, it's all about functionality. They're running a business, they're running an operation, it needs to be better for them. They want, better loading areas. Maybe the dock doors are broken or the roll-up doors are broken. You can help them fix that. Security cameras so that you decrease the probability of theft. Exterior lighting. Honestly, any of these you could add exterior lighting, and it's a functional amenity there that can help you drive those rents up. And just a clean, professional look on the industrial building. There's no like universal improvements. Maybe like exterior lighting and things like that can universally help improve but you want to pinpoint the amenity and the improvement for that specific asset class where you think it'll have the most weight when it comes to either leasing out to new tenants or increasing the rent on the existing. Now, do not confuse a personal preference with tenant demand. Now, I see a lot of owners start doing like these niche improvements because that's what they would want if they were tenants at the building, where they're just over improving certain aspects of it. They start renovating areas that don't really affect leasing. They start spending on stuff just because they're like, hey, it looks outdated. You want to make sure you're thinking about the tenants when you're doing these improvements. Lighting, signage. If you're an apartment tenant, you want to think, what do they care about? They care about safety, they care about comforts, they care about amenities and being able to easily access stuff. For retail, they want to increase their sales. The more money they make, the more money you can charge them. So how can I increase their sales? Typically monument signage, lighting, things like that. And which upgrades will affect that specific tenant, so that when you have that conversation about taking the rent to market, or if they do leave, or if you have a vacancy and you need to release, what is this person that's looking for space going to care about? What are they looking for? So the 5 questions I ask myself before spending any money: is it legally or operationally required? That would be a mandatory repair. Does it protect current income? Also a mandatory repair. Does it improve leasing or tenant retention for the existing tenants? That's more likely to be an improvement there. Can it support higher rents? Am I able to push rents higher because of it? And is there a cheaper way to do this? You can get very creative and create systems around how I improve the facade of a building. I figure out what, materials I use, how I improve signage, get nice solar panel lights, sprinkle them all over the building, what camera system I use. You can start creating operations around what improvements you can do in order to really improve the value of the asset. So now when I buy a building, I know which cameras I'm going to buy, which exterior lights I'm going to buy, am I going to do the parking lot or not, and I already have all my improvements ready. So once I close, I start doing all these improvements, clean the building up in the first few weeks, maybe a few months, and then start having those rent increase conversations. Even if they do leave, I've improved the building, so it should be an easier leasing conversation. So make sure you're buying, it's really preferred that you're buying with less deferred maintenance and more rent upside. Like, let me give you two properties. Property A has a major mechanical replacement that you got to replace the roof, a bunch of HVACs, there's structural problems. So you have to spend all your money just cleaning, just getting the building to like a base case where the tenants will stay and not leave. Versus property B, where the building is functional, your mechanicals are in good shape, but it has poor lighting, signage, maybe it's like an outdated exterior, you got to upgrade the facade, you have below market rents that actually give you leasing upside. So with value add, unless you're able to negotiate a large discount on property A, you want assets with property B. So in many cases, it's a combination of the two. It's rarely just one or the other. Sometimes you'll have to improve some of the mechanicals, but you got to make sure you're getting a discount for that accordingly. And then once you're done with the major mechanicals, you start doing some of the more optional stuff that just elevate the building, and now you're able to increase rents from there. So fixing existing problems protects value. Improving the tenant experience creates value. So would this improvement matter to the tenant or only to the owner? Every property needs maintenance and mandatory repairs that cannot be ignored. Okay, if they don't happen when you buy it, they will happen eventually. Make sure to do those promptly in order to retain your tenants. When it comes to evaluating a value add deal, you want to figure out what levers you can pull in order to speed up the rate of leasing the space out, or being able to increase the rents closer to market without them leaving, or at least decreasing the probability of them leaving. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to follow along. I'm going to be talking about the different properties I'm buying and how I'm building a commercial real estate portfolio here and scaling it. I really hope you guys enjoyed, and if you guys want to continue the conversation, I have a Skool community in the description below where you guys can hop in and keep talking about different deals you're doing and different deals I'm doing. I also have my contact information. If you have a specific deal you want me to review, I don't charge anything for it. I can take a look at your deal, let you know my surface level thoughts, and I'd be happy to continue the conversation via email or over the phone. Anyway, again, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will catch you guys on the next.